It's real important to get these colts moved out. Get them just kind of following their nose. Big old dirt, sandy road like this is brilliant for him. A lot of people don't realize when you're riding your horses out in the trail, if you use the natural terrain to help you, you can teach them so much more than what you can in the actual arena. So what I'm going to start doing here is just using these bushes and shrubs and trees and so forth to help steer him. Well, mate, Bundy's been making some excellent progress over the last few days, but what I'd really like to start focusing more on is getting his guiding a lot better, because eventually I want to be able to take him outside and be able to gather up some cattle on him, gather up some wild camels or wild brumbies. Well, I've got to have a pretty good handle on him to do that. The reason why I like this exercise of rollbacks on the fence is because we're working on so many different areas of the horse. We're teaching a horse to circle, we're teaching him to pick up the correct lead, we're teaching him to stop, we're teaching him to turn. There's so many parts to it, but I can get to work on all of them all at the same time.
Downunder Horsemanship's Australian Outback Adventure is brought to you by Ritchie Industries. Fresh water for life.
I'm Clinton Anderson, and I have a method for training horses. Getting horses to behave is simple. It's training people that's the real trick. Join me as I tackle some of the most challenging situations with problem horses and with problem owners.
Okay, now that I've brought Bundy back to where the stockyards are here, where he's kept, this is where he wants to get back to. So I'm going to put these feet to some good work here, okay? Instead of letting him think when he gets back here, he's going to get a rest, let's put these feet to work. Okay, this is where his buddies are. Here are some of the other wild brumbies we captured. So I'll turn him into the fence here and go back the other way. I'm not going to let him rest here. I'm going to put these feet to work. That's it. Turn him into this fence here. He thinks he's coming back here for a vacation. Show him that he's got to work back here. Quickest way to get a horse to hurry back to the barn is rest him when you get back to the barn. Be a little creative. Do some rollbacks. Okay? I'll bring him in the bail and round pen here. Move him around. Roll him back into these fences. Turn him in here. Doesn't matter where I go, as long as I'm redirecting those feet, as long as I'm making a move. He's not getting a rest. Be a little creative. Turn him in here. He's got to learn to turn anyway. Turn him in here. Inside rein, outside leg. Roll him back here. This is where his friends are. So make him work right here. Pretty soon, he won't be in a hurry to get back here. Keep going, come on. Go. So the whole time I'm making it a little uncomfortable for him to be back here, I'm also getting a handle on him, getting those feet to move, teach him to stop, turn, move his feet around, come here, Precious. Okay. Redirect these feet. Too many people take their horse back to the barn and get off them, and they wonder why the horse is always in a hurry to get back there. Show him it's a lot more work at the barn than what it is away. Now I've kind of harassed him for a few minutes. Let's let him walk a little bit. I'll finish off by flexing him and we'll be done. But if I just do this just for 5 to 10 minutes every day, when I come back here, he won't be in a hurry to get back here. Like I said, he's only been outside one time, and you can see how quickly they develop the habit of wanting to get back to that barn. So now I just want to finish off with our flexing from side to side. You always start and finish with your lateral flexion. Start and finish with lateral flexion. There we go. Another thing you could also do, if you wanted to, if your horse had a real bad problem like being barn sour, is do what I just did here and then ride them away from the barn a couple hundred feet and let them rest. 10 minutes later, come back, do all that again, what I just did. Make them hustle, hustle, turn, turn, turn. Go away 400 feet and let them rest. 10 minutes later, come back, make them hustle again at the barn, take them away 10 minutes later for 800 feet and let them rest. And you do that 7 or 8 times, pretty soon your horse does not want to get back to the barn. That's how you fix barn sour horses, okay? Wherever your horse wants to be, make that seem difficult, make that seem hard. Wherever you want him to be, make that seem easy. Good boy. So now I'll get off him now. And you might say, why aren't you getting off him where he wants to be? The answer is yes. But before I got off him, I certainly made it hard for him to be here. If I do this 2 or 3 days in a row, he won't be so keen. Now eventually, when I come back, even on my own trained horses, I don't have to run him around like that. But I will take him back to the barn and I'll bend him around a little bit. I'll spend 2 or 3 minutes suppling, then I'll get off. I pretty much never just ride straight back to the barn and get off your horse. That's the quickest way to get him barn sour. So again, make it difficult for your horse to be back at the barn, easy for him to be away from the barn, and pretty soon you'll notice he won't be in a hurry to get back there. But overall, I was real happy with Bundy. It's his 6th ride, okay? He's not supposed to be perfect today. Every day he's just got to get a little bit better. But next ride, we're going to take him outside. We're going to work on his steering wheel a lot more in the bush.
Tired of dumping and scrubbing dirty buckets and tanks? Dread breaking ice this winter? Sick of wasting precious water and even more precious time? Then it's time to change the way you water. The industry leaders in horse products and watering have teamed up to bring you a fresh idea on watering. Introducing Classic Equine by Ritchie. Fresh water on demand is critical to horse health. Automatic waterers ensure it stays cleaner, so your horses drink more and you waste less. So kick the bucket and the tank when you choose from options such as multi-head heated and insulated pasture units to premium corner-mounted stall founds. And only Classic Equine by Ritchie offers a garden hose hookup unit for easy installation. Classic Equine by Ritchie makes automatic watering the only way to go for the ease of horse owners and the health of the horse.
Well, mate, Bundy's been making some excellent progress over the last few days, but what I'd really like to start focusing more on is getting his guiding a lot better, where he'll guide left and right, stop, turn, circle, follow his nose. Because eventually I want to be able to take him outside and be able to gather up some cattle on him, gather up some wild camels or wild brumbies. Well, I've got to have a pretty good handle on him to do that. So we've talked a lot up to this point about circling around the trees and the bushes and using the natural landscape to help put a steering wheel on your horse. And that's all very important. I'm going to continue that every day. But there's one exercise in particular that if you do with your horses will really get them listening, guiding, paying a lot more attention to you. And it's what we call rollbacks on the fence. Now, I did a little bit of this with him the other day when Bundy was in a hurry to get back here where we keep him. you know, he kind of got a little barn sour where he really wanted to run back to that barn. Well, I showed you how to move the horse's feet. Whenever you get back to the barn, go ahead and move their feet around and make them feel uncomfortable for being at home or where they want to be, and then you rest them somewhere else. So I did a little bit of this with him, but I really want to today focus on it a lot more and actually teach you guys what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and why it's so important, okay? The reason why I like this exercise of rollbacks on the fence is because we're working on so many different areas of the horse. We're teaching the horse to circle, we're teaching him to pick up the correct lead, we're teaching him to stop, we're teaching him to turn. Okay, he has to do a lead departure. There's so many parts to it, but I can get to work on all of them all at the same time, okay? Now, the reason why I want to teach my horse how to stop and do a 180-degree turn or a rollback over his hocks, anytime a horse rocks their weight back onto their hindquarters, elevates their shoulders and turns, it's the most proficient turn. It's the easiest turn. It's the fastest turn, okay? Anytime a horse's weight goes onto his front end and he kicks his rear end out, okay, I disengage it, that's not going to be a very impressive turn. The horse is not going to be able to really hold himself in the ground and make an athletic turn, okay? So, up to this point, we've been working on a lot of lateral flexion at the standstill, making sure that we can flex him both left and right, and he's relatively soft, okay? But what we've got to start doing is getting him to be soft like he is at the standstill while we walk, trot, and eventually canter, okay? So before I get started, every day when I get on him, I just spend a few minutes here, just kind of tinkering around with him, getting him to bend and soften around my inside leg. Okay? Now in the beginning when he first started turning, his head was up a lot higher and he'd gap his mouth a lot. And every day as he gets a little bit softer, you'll notice that he'll start dropping that nose down just a little bit lower towards my toe, and he'll drop his neck down as well. It won't be so braced up. In the beginning, when horses are stiff, they want to raise that head and neck up. What I want them to do is drop it down low, kind of like level with their withers. Anytime a horse is stiff, first thing that show that is their head and neck comes up. When a horse is soft and supple, the first thing you'll notice is they'll drop their head and neck down because it's in a relaxing position. So I'm just kind of using my inside leg on him, or inside spur a little bit, and every time I pick up on that rein, I roll that inside leg. Every once in a while I might have to kick him if he's really lazy, but I'm just trying to get him to where he'll bend his rib cage around that inside leg. When he bends his rib cage, see there, he softened, but he didn't keep moving his feet. I'm trying to teach him to get soft and maintain forward motion. So that's the next challenge we've got here. Okay, I think today is his 8th ride. Okay, so it's just going to take a little bit of time for him just to get a little bit better each day. But I can definitely feel a difference in him today over yesterday. Okay, there we go. I pull to my hip, I release to my knee. Pull to my hip, when I see that nose come down, release to my knee. And I'm trying to get him to eventually just walk a nice circle and stay soft the whole time. Rather than right now, he wants to give and then kind of straighten his head and neck out. That's very common in the beginning. Righto, let's get started here. So what I want to be able to do is use a fence, like a barrier like this, to help teach my horse how to turn, okay? What are you doing, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to circle my horse, or start out at the trot. I'm going to circle my horse right here near the fence. And every time I come into the fence at a 45-degree angle, I'm going to draw his nose into the fence, use my outside leg, and bump him with it and ask him to turn. So I'll just stop here for a second. I want to come into the fence at a 45-degree angle, because if I get in parallel, watch this, I'm parallel to the fence right now. And see how close I am? Well, right now, if I go to turn, there's no room for him to turn here. So the first thing he's got to do is kick his butt out, like that, and then allow a gap for him to turn in. What I want to do is already have that angle ready for him. So when I come in here like this, if he'll just cooperate here, it's a little green. Let me start it again. If I can just come in at an angle like about there, there's already a gap there. Well, it was. I want him to come in so that there's already a gap there for him. So I'll come round, and then right here I turn, and this gap, there we go, is what that front end comes through. So in the beginning, what I like to do is say the word whoa, whoa, and then draw his nose. I want him starting to understand when he hears that word, whoa, I want him to start thinking about putting his rear end in the ground and coming back the other direction.
Are you frustrated with your horse's lack of discipline or struggling with his lack of experience? Do you suffer from the lack of time it takes to turn the horse you have into the horse you really want? Well, there's a method for that madness. Send him to the Clinton Anderson Academy, and we'll turn your horse into an academy horse. The Academy trains only the best horsemen to share Clinton's methods with horse owners around the world as Clinton Anderson certified clinicians. Just as these top trainers enroll in the Academy, so can your horse. During the 6-week course, he will learn the entire fundamentals level of the method to be ridden in and comfortable with a full gamut of situations. At the Clinton Anderson Academy, we have the time, the experience, and the best training method to help you discover your horse's true potential. So stop the madness. Turn your horse into an academy horse.
Downunder Horsemanship's Australian Outback Adventure is brought to you by Ritchie Industries. Fresh water for life.
This is an exercise you can do with a relatively green horse. Like Bundy's only had 8 rides now. Okay, so he's not real advanced, but I'll show you how you can start this pretty early with him, and it only makes him better, okay? So I'll start at the trot here, and then we'll move on a little faster if we need to. So I'll come around. Usually you just get a couple of circles to begin with, okay? Now come around here, whoa, there. Now the reason why you use the fence is because the fence stops the horse from doing what we call a screaming U-turn. If he doesn't turn correctly, well, he'll kind of bump himself on the fence, okay? And that's what I'm looking for, is that if he doesn't turn, he kind of punishes himself. Well, there we go. So his left turn so far is better than his right turn. Come around, well. So when I turn to the right, he has a tendency to want to kick his rear end out. So I have to bump him a lot harder with that spur and say, you haven't got time to be kicking your body out, use it. Well, sit. So usually in the beginning, I'll do it every circle. If I start to find that they anticipate, then I might do it every other circle, okay? Come around, well, there we go. So you can do this slow to begin with. Now right here, how he's kind of cutting in right there. Any area on the circle where I find he's dropping in, I'll just go ahead and turn him out straight away, okay? And if I start to anticipate, I'll show you some, well, exercises to correct that as well. So right now, I don't want to overload his brain. I want to keep it simple for him. Whoa. Okay, I want it left and right. Now you notice that even though I've got 2 hands on the reins, I'm not pulling back with 2 reins. Everything's still left and right, lateral flexion. Whoa. Sit. Right there, he kind of duck in, so just turn him out, just like that. I have to kind of lead his nose a little bit. Whoa. So his left turn is obviously a lot better than his right turn. But these rollbacks will really get your horse, well, turning a lot better, using their hindquarters, guiding left or right. Whoa. Now I'm not worried about if he gaps his mouth or opens it. I'm not too worried about that, okay? Whoa. That'll all stop once we get him given to that bit a lot better. Whoa. Now that he's kind of got the hang of it, I can kind of go down the fence a little bit, keep him off the fence just a smidgen. Whoa. Now right then, he kind of bumped his nose into the fence. He needs to realize he's got to hold his weight back, okay? So like right here is a great example where I'll use rollbacks. He's kind of scared of the cameras and all this action right here at the gate. So I can use these rollbacks, the fear of this camera here, to help me. Anytime a horse is frightened of something, use that energy to help them. So notice that instead of, see, this is what a predator would directly do. If I'm trying to get him up to this camera right here, a predator is a direct line thinker. He's going to try to walk straight up there. And the more I try to get him straight up here, the more apprehensive the horse gets. Do the opposite, okay? Do a series of rollbacks or just U-turns, okay, to begin with, and just keep turning him in to whatever he's frightened of until I eventually work my way up to where I wanted him to be in the first place. So I'm going to use the fear of the camera here to help him turn a little bit. Always turn your horse into what bothers him, never away. Because when you turn him away, the fear drives the horse further away. You'll notice as I keep turning him in here, we get closer and closer to where he initially didn't want to be. So as you can see, as I keep turning him into this fence, he's getting more and more comfortable about getting up here. So initially he was really frightened of you guys and didn't want to come up here. So I just used those turns to help him. You big glass. Okay? Find a starting point. You can either do circles, like I'll just circle here. Okay, and every time I come around the cameraman, I turn and go back this way. Okay, there's an imaginary fence here, so to speak, right there. There's an imaginary fence. Every time I feel like he's trying to get away, like right here, I normally say, whoa, but I'm kind of talking to you guys, okay? And turn him into it. Well, so use that imaginary fence to help him turn. Cool. And as you can see, as I keep doing this, I'll just keep getting closer and closer. Move that front end. To where he didn't want to be. Use the fear to help you turn. Turn. And it doesn't matter what the quality of turn's like right now, just get their feet to move. Yeah, that's better. And then you can give them a little rest where you want them to be. We'll be right back with more from the Australian Outback, presented by Ritchie Industries.
Fresh water on demand is critical for your horse's health. Make sure it's always available when you install Ritchie Waters. We've got the model to suit your needs, whatever they may be. Get the most energy efficiency with the new Eco Fount series. Get the benefits of both steel and poly construction with the Omni Fount. Get the best combination of value and performance with the Watermatic. And for delivering water directly to your horse, there's our newly redesigned Stall Fount. Ritchie set the standard in quality when we invented the automatic waterer in 1921, and we've been the industry leader ever since. So when you buy a Ritchie, you know you're getting the most dependable product on the market, not to mention the best value, service, and warranty in the business. After all, water is essential. We make it easy.
Horses need grain.
Not true. Research has shown that equine grain-associated disorders can be a threat to domestic horses. That's why Glow for Life feeds from ADM Alliance Nutrition go against the grain with premium low-starch, high-fat, high-fiber formulations to feed horses the way they're meant to eat, for life. For a limited time, get a free customized feeding plan for your horse at growstrong.com. That's growstrong.com.
Anything worth having is worth working for, that's for sure. Not gonna make it here if you got any quit in you.
This is where I needed to be the best that I could be. And that's just what we do here.
Dedication, ambition, passion. To some, these are more than ideals. They are a lifestyle, a code, a path to something greater. if you think you're one of the select few who can rise to the challenge, who can dedicate themselves to mastering the method through 70 weeks of in-depth, hands-on training. Let the Clinton Anderson Academy catapult your skills and provide you with the ultimate experience. If you have what it takes, become a Clinton Anderson certified clinician and change your life.
So Clinton, this sort of environment used to be rich in fauna,
right,
with kangaroos, bilbies, small animals, native rats. Before the feral animals came, before the hard-hooved horses and cattle destroyed much of the environment. But there are some snakes here, and they're pretty dangerous. They're not as dangerous as where you grew up in Cairns, where the taipan was, and you would have grown up with a healthy respect for those
I would call it healthy fear. I wouldn't even call it respect. I'd call it a healthy fear, run like hell if you see one. That's what I would call it.
Yeah,
but,
well, I was the same.
Yeah.
I grew up that way, and I learned to be very interested in them.
Yes.
And learned how to handle them.
Do you think there's any chance we're going to see anything out here today? Like, where would they be? Where would you find?
Because the king brown or mulga snake, he doesn't need those mammals. He's not a warm-blooded hunter.
Right.
He hunts the cold-blooded animals, the desert dragons and the other snakes, and he can be still here because we haven't lost those other reptiles.
Right. So where would you find?
Where the geckos go into these logs, under these branches, particularly. Here's the hollowed piece of mulga here that got burnt out. They could be inside here.
Growing up as a kid in Australia, you're taught from a very early age to have a healthy respect / fear for snakes. Australia has almost the 10 deadliest snakes in the world. The top 10 deadliest snakes in the world, pretty much all of them come from Australia. They have the 10 venomous spiders in the world, the 10 most dangerous sharks in the world. Pretty much it's just about anything in Australia is trying to kill you. That's why parents in Australia have so many kids, because they keep getting killed all the time, okay? So, you're taught from a very early age in Australia. When you see a snake, you run like hell. Like, I've developed 2 skills when I see a snake, which is a bowel movement and foot movement, which is I down my leg and I run like hell. They're the 2 things that I've developed. I'm very skillful at both of them, and that's what I do when I see a snake. So Chris, it's been cold the last couple of days, but it's warmed up today.
Yeah.
What do you think the chances of us actually finding a snake today are?
Well, they prey. The lizards might be coming out to sunbathe, get a bit of heat into their bodies.
Right.
And the mulga snakes could be after them, king brown. So they'll be poking in and out of these dead bits of timber. And if we turn over a few logs and sticks, there's a chance on a warm day like this of being able to find one. Australia was cut off from the rest of the world quite a long time ago, and we don't have any of the rattlesnakes and the puff adders and the vipers that the Northern Hemisphere and the Americas have. They never reached Australia. But what did reach Australia is a relative of the cobra from Africa. They'll be hidden under these logs somewhere. What's wrong?
I'm just getting ready in case one of these bastards jump out.
Ranked against the snakes of the world, including the cobra, including the mamba of Africa, our elapid snakes, these cobra-like snakes, are milligram for milligram the most venomous snakes in the world.
So Chris, as a veterinarian, have you seen a lot of snake bite on horses and animals?
Well, particularly dogs.
Right.
Yeah, because they love to catch and harass snakes. And, snakes don't bite unless they are defending themselves. A dog will bite them in the middle of the back, and the snake will turn around and bite them on the ear. Yeah, Clinton, this is the king brown. This is the mulga snake, the one I was telling you about.
Okay.
See the tongue coming out. We're talking about the big, dangerous snakes. We've got to remember that there's another 70-odd snakes, elapid, front fang poisonous snakes in Australia, 72 in total. The indigenous Australians who lived here, and talking to the men here on Kings Creek Station, they're not very happy with the snake in this country. They believe that it should be killed, because if they don't, it'll come back. Even if I release it a long way away, they're convinced it will come back into the camp and do harm. They don't like the poisonous snakes and they will kill them. I was involved in some of the early venom research, and for the anti-venoms to be manufactured, the snakes have to be milked, like I demonstrated here. And that venom is sent to one particular laboratory in Australia, and they take a small amount of it and inject it into a horse. A small dose that hardly causes any reaction to the horse. But his immune system kicks in and makes antibodies. And then a few weeks later, they inject a little bit more until after a few months, they can give a large amount of venom, and the antibodies circulating in that horse's blood will neutralize the venom. And then that serum is harvested and purified, put into vials, and that's what the hospitals have as specific antivenom, an antivenom for each snake. Of course, the catch there is you have to know what snake bit you. So the only way to identify a lot of the snakes is to be able to do scale counts and look at the head and the tail, and there's various keys for working out which snake is which. And often a person who's been bitten by a snake doesn't really think about that when they're rushing into for treatment. Transfer, turn the bag inside out, safely drop him in. When he's fully in, I let go and did down the bottom and tie a good knot in this.
Can he bite you through the bag?
Right?
Can he bite you through the bag?
He doesn't know where to bite, so you wouldn't want to start poking and pinching the bag.
Right.
But
Oh, but you... Oh, no! You're gonna kill all of yous. Dr. Pollitt is obviously an expert in two areas. He's an expert with horses and laminitis and hooves and veterinarian, and he's also an expert when it comes to snakes. So I have no shame of being an expert just in horses, and I'll leave all the snake taming and wrangling and milking, and I'm out of there. He can have it all.
They're very successful predators, and it's something to admire, not fear. I think they're fantastic animals.
Step up your horsemanship with the Clinton Anderson method. Now available in a complete set. Fundamentals starts you on your journey to ultimate control. As you learn to communicate with your horse, earn his trust and respect, and gain control of his body. Intermediate opens the door to ultimate performance as you build on your knowledge to create a safe, willing, and supple partner you control with a feather-light touch. And now, all new Advanced delivers ultimate inspiration to fine-tune your application of the method and reach the highest level of horsemanship. Clinton Anderson offers you the ultimate collection of his wildly popular training method kits at a packaged price.
Downunder Horsemanship's Australian Outback Adventure is brought to you by Ritchie Industries. Fresh water for life.
So kind of use your imagination a little bit on this deal, okay? You can do this all over the place. Whoa. Move those feet, come on, let's go. Whoa. Whoa. Come here. See right there how he didn't want to follow that nose? Just stay with him till he does. Whoa. He's got to learn to draw back. Whoa. 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 That was a better turn, that one. That one, he used himself. Whoa. 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 Let's get his feet moved out a little bit better. Let me guide a little bit here. Follow that nose. Come into the fence. Whoa. Come on, come on. That was a terrible turn. Just lead his nose. Whoa. That was a better turn. That's the boy. Okay, he's starting to relax. Whoa. So as you can see, his right turn and his right rein is nowhere near as good as his left. We'll just keep chipping away at it. Inside rein, outside leg. But he doesn't want to follow that nose. Whoa. So these rollbacks will help any horse's guidance system. Whoa. A little bit better, not much. See how he changed leads there by himself? If they start figuring out, left circle, left lead, right circle, right lead. They start to figure that out by himself. Whoa. See, when they get their head up over the rail like that, I just hustle them through the turn. Come on, you haven't got time to be sticking your big goofy head up over the fence. Get going somewhere. Let's go. Holy stay back. Oh. Whoa. Come on, move. He just wants to get stuck there in the turn. This left turn, you notice he gets in and out of the ground a lot better. Whoa. See how he doesn't get stuck there? I need him to do the same turn to the right. Get going. I can turn him into this fence. Kind of trick him up a little bit here. He doesn't want to follow that nose, especially on this right rein. Pull his ass around a little bit. Get him to kind of follow it. There we go. Those feet. That's better. Notice he's not pulling on this right rein so much. Let's go. Come on. Let's go, boy. You ain't got time to be messing around. Let's go. Turn him in here. Use what's around you to help get him turned. See a big difference here? He's not leaning anywhere near. Right there he's leaning out, so I'll turn him in. Turn him in. Turn him in. Little better turn. So he's starting to run out of air a little bit. I'll take him over here to the water. Here's a little frightened of this. This could be a puddle on the ground, a stump, a mailbox. Go ahead and turn your horse into it. Go back the other way. the fear of whatever they're frightened of. There, help them turn. Just like the tree work we were doing yesterday. I was real happy with how Bundy did. You know, in the beginning, it wasn't real pretty, and that's to be expected. That's why we did this exercise. You know, he'll get his head up and he'll gap his mouth a little bit, or he won't turn real good. That's all normal things. That's why we do this exercise, because as you do it more, you get rid of all that stuff. I always tell people, you got to go through a little bit of ugly stuff to get to the good stuff. And that's kind of what that is. When he gaps his mouth or opens his, lifts his head up or bumps into the rail, that's just him learning where to put his feet. But after I kept practicing it, he started guiding a lot better, listening to my rein, left rein, right rein, moving his feet out. He did a lot better. So I always like to finish off a little quieter, okay? When I draw that nose, move that front end. When I draw that nose, see that he kind of bumped his nose into the fence? That's his problem. He's got to figure out how to shift his weight back. Now, some ladies' horses bump into the fence like that, so they'll make their husband move the fence. Whoa. See, that time he didn't run into the fence? Okay, it's because he's using his head. Let him be responsible for his feet. The fence didn't move, he has to move. Every time I change directions with Bundy, I'm reinforcing I'm the one in control. I'm the leader of the relationship. Remember, you can control the horse's mind by creating movement and redirecting movement. So every time I ask him to go, and then every time I ask him to stop and turn, I'm reinforcing forwards, backwards, left and right. That's how you gain a horse's respect and get them to use the thinking side of their brain, is by lots of changes of direction. So when I was circling around the trees or circling around the water or rolling back into the fence, I'm constantly redirecting those feet. That's how I'm going to develop I'll get to develop a really good steering wheel on him. But if you just let the horse go straight and you never turn them, you'll never get a real good handle on them. Okay? Well, there's a little better turn. So everything again is one rein, isn't it? Well, there, and as he gets better, I won't have to use quite so much outside leg. Well, like that, to make that front end move. Well, there we go. Well, there, that's better. So his right turn's definitely got better. It's not perfect. Well, there, nice little rollback right there. That's a good little workout for you, isn't it? So again, he's not perfect, but not bad for 8 rides either. There we go. Good boy. You know, my end goal is to get Bundy good enough to where I could take him outside and muster up some other Brumbies, or camels, or wild cattle, or whatever I want to do with him. Well, to do that, he's got to be able to change directions very quickly without a lot of hassle, you know, without a lot of pulling and shoving and kicking, and it's got to be seamless. And he's got to be able to do it at a high rate of speed, at a flat gallop eventually. Well, we can't start at the gallop, we've got to start slow. So we start at the walk, and then the trot, then the canter. Now, you notice when I went to the canter, it got really ugly, didn't it? He kind of had his head up and mouth open. The faster you go, the resistance becomes more obvious. It basically gets worse the faster you go. So I exposed him to a little bit more speed. I exposed some of the resistance in him, and then I relaxed back down, and I finished the session by going slow. So I rebuilt his confidence. So sometimes when you step them up, you'll find out, you got to step them up to find out where their holes are. You've got to step them up to see what they're capable of accepting. And then if you overload them a little bit, just step back a few steps, rebuild their confidence and go. So all these changes of direction, I might be flat gallop and I've got to come up to a tree and quickly turn right, quickly turn left. There might be a creek and I need him to stop and turn and go over the other direction. Okay, so, you know, being able to gather up wild animals in the bush at a high degree of speed, high level of speed, you know, is very, very difficult. So you've got to have that handle on your horse. So now I just want to finish off just making sure he'll soften laterally at the standstill. Remember, your lateral flexion is the key to vertical. The softer you can get them side to side, the better shape they're in. Good boy. He's coming along.
Downunder Horsemanship's Australian Outback Adventure has been brought to you by Ritchie Industries. Fresh water for life.
Now, an important lesson for any horse, obviously, is to load on a trailer. I kind of break the trailer into two segments. Part A is just get the horse on, using an approach and retreat. Part B is get him to crave to go on the trailer, get him to crave to stand there, get him to want to do it. And you do that by making him work outside. And the only place he gets to rest is right here, okay? There is no way in the world a horse is ever going to get the lid off one of the Ritchie waterers. And that's important because if they do, you know, they can mess with the valve and cause a little bit of problems. So I don't want my horses to get cut. I don't want them to get damaged. I want them to have fresh water 24/7. And that's one thing that these wild Brumbies out here don't have is availability to water 24/7. You know, they've got to walk 20 miles every day in search of food and water. I guarantee the ones that we've captured and brought in, they're going to be happy to be getting water anytime they want it for one of these Ritchie waterers.